If you ever wonder why people hate bodywork, this is it right here.
Our chief engineer spends most of his time in his machine shop, testing his automats over and over again.
I have an entire car here to do. If I did the video on the whole car, it would take forever. I'm just gonna use the hood here as an example, and we're gonna go through step by step the processes of laying body filler and working the body filler down to a primable surface on the hood. So let's get started on that. Okay, so here is our panel. This is the hood for the Mustang. And the first thing we want to do is we want to start with a completely stripped hood. We know from the previous parts that was one of the things that needed to get done before we get to this point. Now that we've got the hood stripped, we want to identify the areas that need the body filler. We don't want to just cake this thing in body filler. Unfortunately, this entire car was caked in body filler because the last person that did this didn't go through the steps, didn't work that way, I don't know. But for us and how we're going to do, we want to keep the body filler to a minimum. Now we do have several flat areas on the hood. So if they're flat, we want to use that. We don't want to just cake it up with body filler. We want to bring those low areas up to meet the flat areas that are of the sheet metal. So what we need to do is we need to identify the low areas. And how we're going to do that is with a sanding block. Now if you can see in here, there's a bunch of different sanding scratches all going the different ways. So what I'm going to do, like take for instance, that dent is super easy to see. But right now you can see all the sanding scratches going this way. If we take our sanding block and we start to run the other way, the light is going to refract on those sanding scratches and it's going to make that dent really stand out. I don't know if you can see that, but like the rest of the sanding scratches are going this way, and then you come over here, you got your sanding scratches going vertical, and it really shows that dent. So I'm going to work the rest of this panel and find those low spots, and that's how we're going to identify where to put the filler. Caveat here, guys, if you're a professional auto body man, don't come after me. I'm doing this in the garage with a $50 tub of Evercoat, and I'm just a guy that wants to get the stuff painted, showing other guys how we do it. I did it on that car. Like I said, it's been 8 years. The paint's on that car, looks great still. Don't come after me. We're just sharing information. Okay, next up, once we've got everything identified as far as where the body filler is going to go, we want to get this panel as clean as we can. I'm going to use acetone. All right, all the monotonous stuff is done. We are ready to apply body filler to that hood. I got my mixing board. Let's go over here to the bench and we'll get some body filler mixed up. I know I've mentioned it before, but make sure you use a good quality body filler. When your body filler sits, it's going to separate. You're going to see like an oily film on it. Make sure you mix all that up before you start putting it on your board and mixing the hardener in. Okay, for filler, there is a recommended amount. Make sure you knead your filler before you put it on there, because just like the or hardener, excuse me, but just like the filler, it will separate, so knead it out a little bit. What I always do, I get a pretty level pile here, and then I just run an X across it. That will typically give you enough filler. Don't go nuts with this stuff, because the more you have to do, the longer it's going to take to apply, and the more hardener you put on there, the quicker it's going to harden, and then you won't be able to work it. Let's head over to the car. Now usually the hardener will be a contrasting color from the filler. That way you know when it's totally mixed, because the body filler will change a whole different color. Now you can see it's a different color than it was when it went on. The smoother you can get it with the application, the less work you're gonna have to do. So take your time, think it out, don't just glob it on, and save yourself some work. Okay, I ran out of filler, so I gotta go back and mix some more. So I missed one spot there because I was kind of rushing. There's a low spot here, one there. And you can see it started to flash on me and turn right here. So I'm probably going to dig that back out. It may be fine. I might just leave it. A couple more low spots here. But I did get the whole front here, which was the big deal. Okay, now I still do have more filler to put on that, but while that's tacking up, I wanted to show you the next step here. What we do is once we get it on there, we want to knock a lot of it off. Again, 90% of body filler ends up on the floor, 10% on the panel. What we're going to do next is we're going to use this kind of file. I call it a cheese grater. You might hear it called a lot of different things, a body file, a Bondo file, all kinds of things. But we're going to take the high areas of this body filler and I'm going to knock it off and it's going to come out like kind of like cheese in a cheese grater. Let me show you how that works. Now the purpose here is it's going to save us a lot of time in the long run working this down, because once it dries, you see, look at that in there, it's like cheese. Once this dries, that is a total pain in the butt to work out with a piece of 80 grit. I mean, it's not a pain in the butt, it just takes a while. Gonna knock it down. You want to be careful with the edges here because this stuff isn't totally dry. If you hit the edge too hard, it'll start to peel back from the base material, from the metal. So I like to just work the high spots and the edges will come down with the sandpaper. You can see I'm starting to get there here. I'm going to hold off. That's about as much as I'm going to take out of that in fear of jacking myself up. I'm going to work to this front edge here and then continue on with the panel. Okay, I've got all of the spots identified and got the body filler on it all. You can see it's a bunch of little patchwork and everything else is pretty level. And high build primer is going to make up the rest. Looks like I missed one small one right there. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, I've got the body filler laid. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rough knock it down and start to get a shape on it with some 80 grit and a long block. If you ever wonder why people hate bodywork, this is it right here. All right, I hope you can hear me. I got my big fan going to keep the dust to a minimum. So what you're looking for here is you're looking for feathered edges. You see how the edge just kind of, it's metal and then it just feathers out nice into the solid piece there. Now here's an example of an edge that's not yet feathered. So it's just a stark drop off between the base material and the filler. That's no good. You're gonna see that. You'll never see this. This is what you want for the edge. That can use a little more work, but it's feathered, but I can still kind of feel it. So here's a good example of what you're looking for. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use some guide coat and we're going to spray the areas that I've completed with guide coat. We're going to hit it with a longboard and that will show how much the filler actually did to fill the low spot. Okay, we've got the first application of guide coat on there and it's actually showing quite a bit. So up in this area, for instance, you can see that I've got low spots just outside the filler right here. I didn't even know that was there. Of course, there's little low spots around where these bolts go. That's to be expected. I'm not even going to worry about that. One of the ones that is unexpected that I didn't feel before is right here. So that guide coat's showing me that this area is high and it's high over here. So it's low right there because the guide coat stayed. I've got a spot over here I didn't see that's low. And there's also one right here that I didn't see. There's a linear dent right there. And it looks like this edge needs some more filler, as does right there and just above this dent. And yeah, over here as well. So that's the importance of the guide coat. It really shows you the things that you can't see or feel. I mean, it's really an important part. Okay, more guide code, and it's time to read it and see what it's telling us. So over here on the back edge, things look pretty good. I've got a little bit of a high spot, so there's more filler to work out there. A little bit more filler to work out here. You can see this outside edge is surrounded with guide coat, but everything else looks pretty good. I'm going to try and work that out. Now, if this is the same level as that, this will start to go away. If not, I got other issues. I do have some strangeness. I've got a dent from the outside going, or inside coming up. The only way I can fix that is just to whack it. There's bracing on the inside. I get my planishing hammer in here and see if I can't knock it around. But there's really no other way. I'm going to hit it with a hammer, sink it down. And you can tell that it's proud because look around, everything around it. There's guide coat, all the way down through here, guide coat, and everything's super proud right there. It's like super clean. That's a high spot. So coming over here, see I got a little bit more to work out here. Low spot right here. I think that is holding it up right here. So I'm going to continue to work that and see if that comes through. This looks pretty good. It's starting to come together here. I got a little bit of a low spot there. But everything else is good right there. So I may either need to add a little filler, or you know what? That is so minimal I can't even feel that. High build primer will probably take care of that. This area looks pretty good. I got one little proud spot right there. I'm not going to worry about that. You'll never see that, especially with this light color that the paint's going, or that the car's going. In here, I'm low. I know I'm low there, 100%. That's going to need a little bit more filler. Everything's looking good coming through here. This looks good. I got a little weird spot right there. It must have been some junk in my filler or something, like a little hardened piece from the last time I used the board or something, because that's a low spot and it needs filler. Let's see, little dent right there, and this is still proud. That's proud, and I haven't guide coated the front. I'm still working on it. Looks like there's a lot of filler on the front there, but there's really not. Anyways, reading guide code is kind of like the card equivalent of like tarot cards. Unfortunately, I didn't film it, but I'm doing it again, so you'll see it here in a second. This spot right here, that's a little bit of body filler. That's why that paint's drying different there. But this area was proud. So I smacked it down with a body hammer. Just a low crown body hammer. Where are you at? There you are. Low crown body hammer. And then I hit it again with the guide coat and the sandpaper, and it showed me it was still proud in this area. So I hit it again, and I guide coated it again. And I'm going to hit it with the sanding block here in a second, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, last time it was proud right around here, so let's see what we get. A little impatient, you can see it pulling off the guide coat there. Okay, better. Now it's just proud right here. So I'm going to smash that with the hammer. Now when you're hitting sheet metal, you want to try and push it the way you want to go. So you'll notice my hammer strikes, I'm pushing it forward into that low spot of the dent. And the hopes there is that you're pushing the metal back into where it's low and it kind of bring everything up. For something this small, it probably doesn't matter, but it's a good habit to get into. All right, let's see where we're at here. Okay, all right, check this out. Now here's what we're getting. So it's low here, low, 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 high around here. That's pretty close. I'll probably, you know what, that's fine. That's actually really close. I'm just gonna skim that and that'll be good. Really what we needed to do is I just needed to get down below the level because it was throwing off finishing the other areas because I'm using the long block and we use like long strokes to get the overall contour of the panel. So when we had a high spot, it blocked the flow of that long block, so I couldn't get a good profile. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Okay, one more application of body filler on. Just put it on, waiting for it to tack up, and I'll hit it with the cheese file there. And I think this is probably going to bring me pretty close to home as far as the rest can be made up with high build primer. So far, I've got about 4 hours in the hood today. I think I'll probably have around 15 in it total, with the majority of that being stripping the paint. Not too bad. Now, buying a hood may have been the better deal. You gotta balance your time versus your money, right? Like, really the only asset we have as humans is our time. We trade it for money. I don't want to get too philosophical in it, but there's a balance in between. Is it worth it to sit here and struggle on this hood for 20 hours worth of work, or to pony up the $400 and get a new hood? I'm doing this hood so I can show you guys the process. I would replace this hood. Me personally, I would replace the hood. I replaced my deck lid. There's a new one over there in the corner. You can see it right there. My old one is over there. Deck lid's trash. It was trash. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna replace it. It may have been smarter for me to show you on the deck lid and replace the hood because there's a lot less metal here, but that's all right. Anyways, hood is round in the corner on body filler. Now I'm going to show you a few more areas on the car that use some different techniques. The hood is good because it's just a long flat thing, and typically long flat panels are somewhat harder to get straight and to get it to flow with the lines of the car because they're so flat, and any kind of imperfection makes it easy to see. So I wanted to show you on a panel like the hood. So that's why we're using the hood. A little more blocking work, one more guide coat application, and we'll see where we're at. Okay, if I haven't mentioned it, you can get a lot of body work done with a DA, a dual action sander. Here's how I use it. Once you lay the body filler on and you use the cheese grater file that I showed you earlier, I get an initial shape with the DA sander. I'll start working it down to a reasonable flatness with the DA. Now, the reason it works is because the DA doesn't sit there. You got to keep it moving, and it does this spinning and oscillating bit that helps a lot. You can't just leave it on one thing. You still want to work it in your X patterns, and anyways, you can use it to kind of start feathering your edges and getting rid of your high spots and stuff like that. You probably won't get anything laser straight with it, but depending on the color of the paint you're shooting and how flat you need that particular part to be and exactly where it is on the panel, the DA is good for a lot of work. Of course, you're going to have to get everything flat with the long block, but you can save yourself a lot of time with the DA. Okay, here's a quick tip. You see how it looks low right here from the guide coat? When you're checking the panel with your hand, never use your flat hand. Use your fingertips. Run your fingertips over it, and you should be able to feel any kind of deflection. Now these low spots right here, so it's high here and high there, when I run my finger over it, I can't feel a difference, which means to me that I can take that up with high build primer. But like things like this, where it's a sharp edge, you run your finger over it, you can definitely feel a little step right there. That needs to be worked out. But something like this where you cannot feel it, but you can see it, just understand it's there, but you can probably take it out with high build primer. Use your fingertips. The old Finger Blaster 9000. Okay, we are calling bodywork on this hood done. High build primer is going to do like the last little bit of it, but it is pretty good. It's nice and flat. Okay, so the only thing that you would want to do before you could lay any kind of primer on this is right now it's at an 80 grit. I would bring it down to like a 180 or 240, somewhere in that neighborhood, and then spray it. But honestly, with a high build primer, and depending on how thick it is and how many coats and all that other stuff, you could probably cover 80 grit scratches. I wouldn't recommend it, but I think it is doable. But anyways, at least down to 120 before you spray it. So next thing I'm going to do is we're going to get the hood off of there, and we're going to throw some of these doors up because I want to show you how I deal with different contouring body lines and stuff. the Mustangs are pretty flat. There's not a lot of swoop-de-doos. Like on this car, working these body lines in here was different. Like this, what I did is I took a pool noodle, and like your kid's pool noodle, right? And then wrapped it and then ran it to get that. So one of the things you really want to avoid when you're doing body work is this right here, these fingers. Using just bare hands. If you have to use your bare hand on an area, use the flatter part of your palm to kind of try and work that area in. Fingertips will leave grooves when you are sanding. So just be aware of that. I always like to use something larger and flat. It works mo better. Actually, before we move on, one thing I wanted to do is prep the bottom of this hood. I am going to spray it. It's got a bunch of different weird colors on it. The hood, the way I'm going to paint the car is the deck lid and the hood are going to be blacked out. And I'm just using some red Scotch-Brite, and I'm going to get it ready with that. Okay, I've got this door put up here, and now these doors have been reskinned somewhere along the line. Can you see me? So I don't think they're going to be that bad. I'm going to hit them real quick with a DA. I got a little bit of surface rust setting in here. Hit them with a DA, and then quick guide coat, long block. See if I see anything. If I do, we'll work it out. If not, we'll go on to the next door and call this one ready for prime. Man, I thought this door was perfect. It is not. There's like 6 dents in this thing. Okay, this is why you do that. I'll turn you around. Okay, let's get down here, see if we can see what we see. So coming through here, there's one right there. There's a low spot here, low spot there, low, low. Over here, there's a low. Dent right there. What else do we see? If we come around and we just change our angle of the dangle. It looks like one, but I don't feel it. Yeah, so that's why you do that. Get that scratch on. So the biggest offender is right there. See if you can see there. You can see it now. Right there and right there. Bigger than, oh, right there. Look at that. I saw that one in the camera. I didn't even see it with my eye. 1, 2, 3, right there. And that's why we do that scratch pass, and we let this metal show us what it needs. I'm going to mix up some filler, clean this off, mix up some filler, get it spread on there, and then we'll start working it down just like we did the hood. The filler is so thin here, I'm not even going to cheese grate it. I'm just going to go straight to the 80 grit on the long board. I said I wasn't going to do that, but I did it. This door should take 20 minutes. It's really pretty flat. There's an ancient proverb that says, no pain, no gain. And what that really means is, hold on, because this kind of sucks. Okay, so here's an area that I was talking about where I'm going to use my hands. Remember, avoid the fingers, use the flat of your hands and your palms. So I've got a contour change here to here. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to use a piece of 80 grit that was on the board, and it's still sticky on my hand. And then I'm going to run one finger right here, and I'm going to use the kind of like, let me see, like this part of my knuckle right there in here. That way I get a lot of the flatter part. I'm probably overthinking this. This doesn't need to be science. You can get the board in here. I knocked a lot of this flat with the board, but the fact that I have a change here and a slow curve there, this just makes more sense. So use the palm of your hand, try and keep it as flat as you can. But remember, if you keep going too far like that, you're going to run a groove in here from your finger. Okay, now before this is ready to spray with primer, we're gonna knock those 80 grit scratches down. So one thing to remember is on the DA, I've been using that same piece of paper the whole time. It's no longer cutting 80 grit depth scratches. I don't know what it is, but it's not 80, maybe around 100 or something. But I just take a piece of 220, that's what this is, dry. And what you wanna do is you wanna knock all those rough sand scratches down. So 220 is plenty fine for it. Now when you're doing this, you want to be careful because you've got the majority of your shape in your body filler already. You want to be careful not to change the shape of the body filler when you're hand sanding. Remember, I was bitching about not using your hands. Well, here it's a little different because all we're doing is we're trying to sand flat all the ridges that the 80 grit is leaving. So when you're cutting metal with sandpaper, it's cutting real small scratches in it. And what we're doing with this 220 is we're just knocking the sharp points off of that sanding scratch. You can see a lot of tool marks in here from whoever did this the first time. And the high build primer will cover all that. But anyways, you want a nice surface for the body filler to stick to. Remember, don't spend too much time in that area. Oh, it feels nice and flat. It feels really good. Okay, guys, we're going to call that a wrap on the body filler, body work video. So this is going to be video number 3 in the 8-part series we're doing on how to paint the car at home on a budget. I hope you picked up something. If you did like this video, please drop me a like. Consider subscribing to the video so you don't miss any of these parts of the series. Also, hit the notification bell. That'll help alert you whenever I drop a new video on this series. I'm trying to get this car in paint here in the next month or so. Big goal with this car is Hot Rod Power Tour 2023. I can't wait. I'm super excited. I've wanted to do one of these for years and years and years, and this is the car to do it with. So we're getting ready for that. I just want to remind everybody there is a million ways to skin a cat here, and the only one that's wrong is the one that doesn't work. So if you're a professional guy and you want to come after me for what I'm doing, hey, I'm open to criticism, but let's just be respectful of each other. This thing has already caused a lot of emotions and hurt feelings. I have no idea why. I just want to paint my car. I'm not telling everybody this is the best or the right way to do it, but it works. Just remember, big takeaways from this video and the series in a whole is your paint is in the prep work. Spend more time on your prep work. Shooting, it's going to take a couple hours. All your labor and intense stuff is going to be in the prep work. The harder you work at this part to get it squared away and straight and looking really good, the better your outcome is going to be 100%. I hope you can take something away from this video and be encouraged to paint your own car, because we're in this hobby to enjoy these cars and to have fun. And if you're dropping $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on a paint job, well, you're different financially than I am. I want to get this thing together so I can go rip on it and have fun. And we're halfway there. We're almost there. So, like I said, like, comment, subscribe to the videos, hit the notification. We've got new videos coming out all the time. The F100 is the next thing in here. So as soon as I get the Mustang wrapped up, that F100 is coming in, and I'm super excited about that. Anyways, guys, that's all for today. Like always, thanks for coming around.